The things that plagued the Nintendo Switch at launch in the first couple of years might not be a thing when it comes to Nintendo's next system, based off of rumors that we've already heard about the system, in addition to official listings that Bandai Namco and other developers have posted. So in this video, we're going to break down the latest information about what's going on with Bandai Namco and give a little bit of a follow-up on an article and information that was posted before about some new studios that Nintendo and Bandai Namco have joint funded. Plus, we've got some interesting information about some system sales for the Nintendo Switch that seemingly just doesn't want to die, and of course, a pretty impressive milestone for the PlayStation 5. But before we get into any of that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And let's go ahead and jump right into this, because I do think one of the major issues with the Nintendo Switch for many people out there is the fact that there was a lack of that major Japanese third-party support. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some incredible games. We have stuff like Shin Megami Tensei 5. We have Persona 5 Royal, Persona 4, Persona 3. We've got Dragon Ball FighterZ. There's some awesome stuff, but there seem to be a glut of other titles, big Japanese RPGs like Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise, and other games that are missing or have missed the platform in the past. So I do think that with this announcement with Bandai Namco and with some other things that I've been hearing about the next Nintendo system, it does seem like a lot of these games will be coming over. Now, we have to wait and see when it comes to Western support. Not really sure what's going to be happening there, but I'm guessing it's going to be on par or better than what we got with the Nintendo Switch. Now, let's talk about this newest listing here from Bandai Namco. Once again, this is a follow-up on something that was already out there with Bandai Namco and Nintendo and 2D and 3D action games job listings being posted. Shoutouts to My Nintendo News with the write-up on this one, and they're stating here that it looks like there's two projects in production, which that was already out there. Nintendo will be working on with Bandai Namco. One of them is being developed by Studio 2 and the other is being developed by Studio S. This is the internal Bandai Namco and Nintendo joint funded studios to help work on games, but the biggest thing here is that this could mean a Smash Brothers sighting as well. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. So the job listings do suggest that the 3D game is likely to be a remaster. I've talked about this multiple times, or potentially even a remake of an existing Nintendo IP. Some stuff that's been floated around is Kid Icarus Uprising, for example, but we just don't know what exactly that's going to be. Then interestingly, there is a 2D game job description, and it mentions the construction of stage specifications, level designs for side view action games, which leads some people that are speculating here, Twixed Voxel and others, that this could be a listing for the next Super Smash Brothers game. Now, for those who don't know, Super Smash Brothers is pretty much developed like a lot of the hard work in terms of programming and modeling and all that is developed by Bandai Namco. They have a massive team that works with Nintendo's liaisons in addition to Masahiro Sakurai. So it is just like this mismatch of talent across multiple different companies. Masahiro Sakurai's company, in addition to Bandai Namco and Nintendo, all coming together to make this. And I do feel, based off of what Masahiro Sakurai has said in the past on his own YouTube channel, and just based off of him saying, you know what, I really can't leave it in the hands of somebody else at this point, I do see him directing another Smash Brothers game. And if you follow what Nintendo's done in the past when it comes to Super Smash Brothers, they always want to have a Smash Brothers game out within the first couple of years of a new system's launch. Ever since they started doing this regularly when it comes to Smash Brothers being a success, they've wanted that to be out there. N64 was the first system, obviously that was a few years afterwards, but if you look at the GameCube, you look at the Wii, you look at the Wii U, you look at the Switch, all of those were within 1 to 2 years of the system's launch. Super Smash Bros. Melee was supposed to be a launch title for the GameCube and ended up being a few months afterwards, so it's one of those things to where they want to get Smash Brothers out, because that's always going to be a system driver, a system seller, a system mover. So they want to have that out early in the system's life. So yes, if you're going to have a Super Smash Brothers game within the first year or so of the next system, you absolutely have to start planning that now. And I do think that Masahiro Sakurai and Bandai Namco Nintendo are in the first stages of getting that Super Smash Brothers game out. But I do think that not only does this bring a better collaboration in terms of potential remakes or remasters of older Nintendo IP and Bandai Namco can work with, it also forges a relationship for bigger third-party games to come over, as well as Bandai Namco's developers obviously have those dev kits. They're getting familiar with the hardware. You want them to have that early. You want them to be able to give feedback and say, okay, this is what's going on with this, so they can get those games ready. One of the big problems with the Nintendo Switch was the fact that Bandai Namco didn't believe in the system. There wasn't a lot of investment. There wasn't a lot of collaboration between Bandai Namco and Nintendo beforehand, with not just Smash Bros, but with other titles. This shows a clear collaboration of other titles and knowing the hardware when it comes down to it. So I do feel this will lead to more previous game ports coming over, stuff like Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise, in addition to newer games coming over, and even individual built games specifically for the hardware, especially if it takes off like the Nintendo Switch did. Another thing that we really can't underestimate when it comes down to third-party support or Japanese developers supporting something is what happened before. A lot of companies like to go with what's tried and true, and if you prove that something is tried and true before and there was success, they're more likely to support that without having that at first. So we're seeing with Dragon Ball FighterZ, we're seeing with Dragon Ball Kakarot, lots of Bandai Namco games, even the Naruto Storm games, all sold really well on Nintendo Switch hardware, and I think that it's going to be essential for Bandai Namco's business going forward to have that, as I would say PlayStation and Xbox aren't buying as much Bandai Namco stuff as they used to in the past. So I do feel that that will lead to more, and it's going to be a ripple effect across the industry. I think many other Japanese developers are feeling the same way. We did see some of the effects of that, getting stuff like Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch late in its life. So I do feel that Sega will also be bringing over some of their past titles in addition to new games coming to the next system earlier than waiting like they did before, or only having something like Sonic, for example, and then bringing over other titles or just ports of like classic games or classic collections. I think it's going to spread. And of course, Koei Tecmo, they've always supported Nintendo when it comes to the Switch and all that, so they'll be there again. So I think this is very exciting going forward when it comes to what is happening with Nintendo and the relationships with Bandai Namco and other publishers, in addition to just what games could come out of this with this new studio that's being built specifically for Nintendo and Bandai Namco working together on various titles. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here, because I find this to be very interesting from Ampere analysis. So I do want to stress that this is an estimate and it's not official numbers from Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo. It's just estimates, but they do have their sources. I'm pretty sure they have their MPD data and other things that they use to compile what they're saying here, and this has been reported on multiple other sites as well. And I wanted to focus in on something because they are stating that the Nintendo Switch has shifted 16.4 million consoles in 2023. Now, this figure is down apparently 18% to 16.4, but that's actually above the 7.6 million that they are estimating the Xbox Series has sold. But the PS5, which we're going to talk about in just a bit as well, sales grew 65% to 22.5 million units for the year. So all of the systems, or more like two of the systems, are doing pretty good to really good, and the Xbox Series isn't quite doing good. You definitely probably want to move more than 7 million to 8 million units per year. That's not great overall when it comes down to it. And if you're looking at it from the console war perspective, which I don't care, I have all the different systems, but yeah, it looks like it's 3-1 pretty much when it comes to Microsoft to Sony, and with Nintendo for a system that is going on its 8th calendar year, 7th year completed in March of next year. It's pretty insane to see that it can shift 15 million units plus or anywhere near that. So very very interesting overall. I do feel that if Nintendo's plan or strategy is to have the Nintendo Switch be around and support both systems, I do feel that this could be the breaker when it comes to will the Nintendo Switch pass the PlayStation 2. That's been a big thing, and I think I've talked about it before. I've had videos on it, but I feel that if Nintendo continues to support the Nintendo Switch with some games here or there, with updates, with Nintendo Switch Online stuff, I think that it can pass the PlayStation 2. You combine that with a price drop, it will absolutely pass the PlayStation 2. I think the big key for it actually doing that could be a price drop on the Nintendo Switch Lite. The Nintendo Switch Lite is a system to where you could sell a lot of extra ones of those, especially if you have extra stock just lying around, all the different special editions and colors that they've done. You can sell a lot of those at a discounted price of $150, or if it ever got to $99 at some point, that would shift a lot of units for people just buying it for their kids or just to have an extra travel one, because it's a pretty cool system to have cartridge based, be able to play games right off the cartridge, not worry about having to go online for every single thing. So I do feel that that would be a pretty compelling type of sell. But I do feel even if they didn't drop the price and they just continued to support it with some games here or there, which Nintendo has not ruled out, they've actually even more implied that they will support the Nintendo Switch even after their next system is out. And there's a little bit of history with this too, with the successful system and a new one coming out, because the Nintendo 3DS was still being supported with new games even as the Nintendo Switch was a thing and doing really well. Now that support did die out as games stopped selling, but I think at the same time the Nintendo Switch is far more popular than the Nintendo 3DS, and it would command more people probably playing those games if Nintendo decided to release some games on the Nintendo Switch in addition to Switch 2 versions. So this is a strategy that other companies have done and done very successfully. Sony did support the PlayStation 4 for a number of years afterwards with PlayStation 4 versions. Now they are kind of moving off of that at this point, but it did take 2-3 years plus for that to happen, and other third-party developers are still releasing games on the PlayStation 4. Heck, some new games that are coming out or collections aren't even released on the PlayStation 5 officially or Xbox Series, and are released on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and you can just play those backwards compatible. The new Ace Attorney collection, for example, is one of those games. So I do feel that going forward, Nintendo could do the same thing. There's no real reason to shut down everything when it comes to Nintendo Switch, when you can still make money off of people buying indie games and people buying things, in addition to people buying the new system as well, as long as you've got those big new titles to really show off the new system. That big new 3D Mario game, that big new Mario Kart that's coming, the big new Zelda game, or the big new Animal Crossing, whatever the case is, you bring those titles out, people will absolutely rush to go buy that new system, in addition to supporting the Nintendo Switch with some games here or there, or some of the smaller stuff. Maybe if there's a new Mario Party, for example, that can be on the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that you can do cross-gen stuff like they've done before at launch. Let's say something like Metroid Prime 4, if that game's going to be a cross-gen release, which I think at this point it's safe to say that it's probably going to be a cross-gen release, that's something that you can do as well. So I think that these figures here, if they're accurate when it comes down to what Nintendo Switch has done for 2023, is really good considering how old the system is. I don't think we've seen a system sell 16 million plus units in a calendar year in its 6th/7th year, or if we're talking about calendar years, its 7th calendar year going to its 8th, and it's selling 16 million units plus. That's crazy to see, and it's still not done yet, as there are more games coming out. Nothing necessarily super major in terms of system movers, but games that people want to play, with stuff like Princess Peach Showtime, in addition to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD and the 1000-Year Door. That's coming. All of that stuff is there. So I do feel that Nintendo is gearing up for that next system, but I also think that they're also gearing up to have people still play the Nintendo Switch, buy games on there, subscribe to their service, because that's still a lot of people that aren't going to be able to instantly buy the new system, and Nintendo wants to keep those people consistently paying for their service. So I think that's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reason why Nintendo's still going to support the Nintendo Switch, because they still want those Nintendo Switch Online service sales, right? They still want that, and not everyone's going to be able to just switch over automatically, because there won't be 40 million systems for people to just buy automatically. So I think that's going to be their ticket and their way when it comes comes to continuing to sell the Switch, not at the clip that it sold beforehand, but still at a good clip, and eventually become the best-selling system of all time. It's third place right now at this point, so we'll see where it goes. But speaking of seeing where the sales go, the PlayStation 5 has topped 50 million systems. 2023 marks the first holiday season that supply is available. So Sony had this to say when it comes to this major milestone. Quote, achieving this PlayStation 5 sales milestone is a testament to the unwavering support of the global PlayStation community and their passion for the incredible experiences created by the talented developers from PlayStation Studios and our partners, said Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Jim Ryan in a press release. We're grateful for all of our players who have joined the PlayStation 5 journey so far. He's saying this on his way out. And we're thrilled that this is the first holiday season since launch that we have a full supply of PlayStation 5 consoles, so anyone who wants to get one can get one. Now, the PlayStation 5 launched officially on November 12th, 2020. Can you believe that it's been 3+ years? In the United States, Japan, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and November 19th, 2020 in the rest of the world, including Europe, Middle East, South America, Asia, and South Africa. So let's talk about this a little bit. 50 million units, and they finally have full stock and supply. Now, if you want to know, well, what about the other best-selling systems, you know, that we've seen in recent memory? The Switch and the PlayStation 4. It's a little bit behind the PlayStation 4 when it comes to, if you line it up and everything, a little bit behind it, but they're pretty much neck and neck in terms of the sales rate. Now, compared to the Nintendo Switch, it's behind it by a bit because the Nintendo Switch hits 50 million units less than 3 years. It was actually multiple months less than 3 years, so the Switch actually has a faster sales pace. But then again, at the same time, like, you have to look at, okay, well, what was going on with the stock and all of that, and both systems kind of had stock issues here and there. PS5 also had the global pandemic, so there was that. But either way, all of those systems have sold really well or are selling really well, so it's just good to see Sony do that. Now, we'll see what they do for software, because right now they're kind of being carried by third-party support at this point. If you look at what's happening for next year, I'm really excited for Grand Blue Relink. I'm really excited for Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. These are all games that are coming out early 2024 that I'm hyped for, but there isn't a lot of big first-party Sony games that's getting me excited to play my PlayStation 5. And if you look at it this year in 2023, there wasn't a lot of first-party games either, and the third-party games were good. They were definitely solid, but there wasn't really anything that says, okay, this is the reason why. Here's what I got for my PS5 outside of Spider-Man 2. So let's see what they do for next year. They've got The Last of Us, but there really isn't a ton. They've got Helldivers, but who knows what they have up their sleeves for holiday or fall of 2024. They can always have a state of play and announce a bunch of stuff. We still need to see what happened with Stellar Blade, so I think that they're going to have some cool stuff for us, but it's taken a bit longer than probably they even want to put out some games, because even if you look at Naughty Dog doesn't have any brand new titles on the PlayStation 5 at this point. It's all just remasters and remakes or re-releases. So interesting in that sense. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to everything that we discussed here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out our other Nintendo Switch videos right here, in addition to other topics as well. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.